What are we doing? What are we doing? Captain. Oh, Steve? Right, man.
Members only video. We put it out there.
Okay.
Say, okay, you got any questions about sports, the show, us? Members. Word. And so we got 4 questions.
Steve W. Project.
Damn straight. All right, so we got the first one is from G Money. You know him better as George. He used to do the computer show at CFRA. Oh, I hope he doesn't want me. Hope he doesn't mind me outing him like that. He writes, I'd want to know if making this podcast is as satisfying and rewarding as it was when you guys were on the radio. This is the only podcast I support through Patreon. It is well worth the money, and it's the very first thing I listen to every morning on the drive to work. I hope you guys know how much we appreciate all the effort that you're putting into it. Is it as satisfying and rewarding as TSN, James?
What's that?
He's wondering if it's as satisfying and rewarding as it was on TSN.
Way more rewarding. Way more.
Yeah.
Much better. Yeah. I love it. Every single minute of it. Yeah. It's totally good. You got to pick your own topic. There's no pressure, you know.
Well, I think any growth that the podcast has, George, is kind of cool because when we're on Tigor, you know, there was lots of people we could credit, right? You know, the growth, our promotion staff, management and all that stuff, and other people we work with. This is all Jim and I. So any growth we have, any success we have, it's all us, baby. So how can that not be satisfying?
How about this reason? Okay. That's a strong reason why I love this podcast. We couldn't do that, Stevie. Yeah,
that is true.
We couldn't do that. Yeah, it's way better. Way better. The boundaries are way bigger. You know, and forget the swearing and all that stuff. That was kind of novel at the beginning, but yeah,
I think we're gonna fade that out. I think Jimmy and I both agree that the F-bombs and stuff are. You know, they were fun for a while, and we still do them just because we're loose about it. But I don't think we do them as, to get a reaction anymore. It just sort of slips out here and there. And I think as we move forward, probably we'll get back to a stage of, you know, we're doing an Ottawa sports podcast. There's X amount of listeners who can find a podcast who would like what we're doing. So we don't want to diminish potential audience by, offending families and things like that. You got your kids in the back seat on the way to work and all that stuff. So probably we start phasing that out just as an FYI.
Yeah, and on one hand too, the podcasts, you know, they live and breathe, you know, off listeners and then ultimately sponsors, and I think it opens up a much wider door for potential sponsors, on a podcast. You know, for example, Steve, you're handcuffed in radio quite a bit. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's probably really difficult for the local radio station in Ottawa to speak frankly about the Sens, for example, right?
There's a partnership there. There's no question, and I think it's always a case of in that forum, you tell the truth and you be honest, but you also have to be cognizant of the business relationship as well, and not go too far. We have the freedom to do whatever we want.
All you got to do is look at the example of Don Cherry. Now, if you want to see Don Cherry at his finest, which we did for 30 years on network TV, he's got a podcast now, and I'm tuning in. You know, I listen to a bit of it, but listen to Grapes Now on that thing, right? You're getting a different guy, right?
No, I totally agree. Let's go to LT. And he writes, he's got about 5 questions.
Well, of course.
Okay, I'm going to go with 3.
All right.
Are you enjoying the podcasting more or less satisfying than radio? How so? Okay, we kind of covered that with George, I think. How many listeners do you have on average? I don't know if I want to get into that necessarily.
4.
Yeah, we got 4.
Yeah.
There's several thousand.
Yeah. The analytics of podcasts. And I do this other one with Russ. It's so confusing. It's so confusing. When we have a marketing team that does that one, and you and I do this one. How many downloads, how many unique listeners, what's the total amount of downloads, who's new, who's not, who's repeat listening and stuff. I haven't figured it out. Hard to believe, Steve, that I don't have that nailed. But
yeah, and it is difficult to track. You can go to your host and get a certain read, but there are also apps like Spotify and Google who basically take your feed and basically bring it over here for themselves,
right?
And then that doesn't get registered by your host, and so it's the numbers can be a little vague. I think they're generally they can be skewed.
Mm-hmm.
Guy hits play and then they stop listening after 10 seconds. Well, that's not exactly as valuable as a guy who listens to the whole show. Stuff like that. LT writes. He's already been writing. He's got a couple more questions.
Still writing. Yep.
Still writing, yeah.
Yep.
How did you feel, Steve, about being let go by Bell? Was it a surprise or did you know it was coming? I got a call. I got an email the night before. And I don't often get emails from the boss, and so I said immediately, that doesn't sound good.
Right.
Can you come see me in my office? Before that, no, I didn't have any idea. But that's the reality of the business, right? It's if the company as a whole is not doing particularly well, like the phone sales are down, that can affect us over here in radio, even though the two are not really related. And so they make some decisions. There's a younger SKU that they're going to, less expensive. So, no, I didn't know it was coming until the night before, I would say. So, yeah, it was a surprise because we were doing well. The ratings were great, and you probably have the same kind of story, Jim.
Well, getting fired in radio, which I did a couple times, not for insubordination or anything, just you get caught up in these numbers. I don't know how the radio station looks at it. If ratings are high, you're bulletproof. If they begin to dip a little bit, even if everyone said they would, you can be the fall guy here. The crazy thing about getting fired in radio is because of the nature of the job, where you're on the airwaves. There's no heads up here, right? They never give you a heads up, right?
Yeah.
It's and they don't want it. If it's like, okay, you're done in a month, right? Well, there's been stories where guys said, okay, you got another week left, and I'm sorry, we're taking a new direction, all that shit. And the guy said, no problem, and he got into the studio to do his show, and he locked the door, and he was handling the board, okay, the production board, and he went off on the station, and said, this will be my last show. They told me he'd have the rest of the week. And it was live radio. They couldn't stop it, right? Because he's got the studio locked. So the way it happens is, you'll finish a show. The way it can happen often is you'll finish the show. You get off air at 9:00. The manager will be there, say, I need to talk to you. And at 5 after 9, you're walking out fired.
Yeah.
And when I got let go at K-Rock, they had a security guard there, right? Because one of the guys I worked with was insane, was absolutely insane. And there have been stories where guys just go crazy. They start kicking shit, turning desks over. And, as long as I'm gone, I'm gonna make a move here. But, you don't see it coming. You never see it coming, ever see it coming. So.
Yeah, and it's something you can't take personally either because, and they were good about it. I mean, it sucks. It's a terrible thing you have to go through, but they handle it about as well as you can handle it. The whole rejection thing always sucks, but they didn't ever get into an issue of like it was performance based or anything like that. So that meant a lot.
Yeah, and there's no jobs like them, man. They're weird hours and all that stuff. And I did it until 2012 from 1999, and honestly, at the risk of sounding corny, I mean I loved every second of it. There was, very few bad moments, man. Very few bad moments in radio.
Well, and the nice thing for me is that, like, as you know, I'm not the easiest guy to make laugh. And, whenever my wife makes, if I laugh at something my wife says, she just, like, celebrates. It's like, oh, my God, you never. And so now that I'm laughing a lot more than I have been in a long time, quite frankly, because it's always a treat working with with you, James.
Yeah, well, fuck, we had a lot of laughs though back then.
Oh yeah,
It was great.
Totally.
Yeah, crazy.
Stupid. And LT finishes with, will there be an online shop for the Blue Team Elimination Watch shirts? Stand by on that one. There are some that exist. I'm not sure how we're handling it. There's a store in town that's actually going to be selling them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're going to do online or not, but for those in Ottawa, there will be a store that you can go to and purchase them.
Here's your first shirt, Steve. Okay?
What's that?
Watch.
Don't wreck your
There.
shirt for a gag.
Look at. Hang on. Jim Jerome.
Oh.
All right, Jimmy. Here it is again. Jim Jerome.
I gotta start an auction.
Yeah,
then.
there it is. You want
An
this
eBay
shirt?
auction going.
It's all signed.
There it is, members.
It's like the first puck, Steve. You know?
All right.
Yeah.
Scott, thank you for yours as well. He also had a question about are we enjoying the grind and all that, and I think we are. And finally, he says any specific long-term aspirations for where the pod can go, and any thoughts on adding a third voice to the show. I would say aspirations, full and total podcast domination.
Exactly.
And third voice, no, not anytime soon.
That's because I can do other voices, Steve. That's why. I can
That must be it.
do a third voice. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. You know, that radio show, Tigor, with three guys, you know, shows normally blow up about every 3 to 5 years, right? Morning
Right,
shows.
right.
And, well, that thing was, in fact, it's still going. I don't know if they have 3 guys on there, but it kind of beat the odds, right? It's really, usually it's a 2-man deal, you know, or a lot of it now is male, female, right? Doing shows.
Yep.
You see on all the rock
Yep.
stations, but three people surviving is rare. So no.
Okay, that's it. No, not anytime soon. We're gonna try and get more guests here and there, like some interviews and things.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a tricky thing when you're dealing with a totally online scenario as opposed to everybody being in the same studio. But yeah, we're gonna try and get some of that going. That will do it for now. Thank you very much for. We're off the end of our work week, and we're having a weekend now. And I hope you enjoy yourself.
These coffee stains, Steve? I get on the corner of my mouth.
Ew. Thanks for that.
All right, that was
Okay, thank you, good members. Peace out.
That was. Wait a minute. Whoa. Whoa. No, dude. Take that back. Okay.
Goodbye.
You're not saying peace out.
Goodbye. Fare thee well.
Throw them all in there. Peace out.
All right, I'm
Okay, I
stopping
hate
now.
that, Bill. I'll
Bye-bye.
see you later.